Hello everyone and welcome to Lesson 3 of History Week. And Lesson 3 is called The King is Dead! Long live the King! And that's what they used to chant when there was a new king. Our learning objectives are to understand who King John was and the impact of his reign, and to infer from evidence to write a character description. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is pause the video and put your date at the top of your page and then write the LO, which is to understand who King John was and the impact of his reign. Just that one there. Then underline both the date and that top LO. Once you've done that, unpause the video and let's find out all about King John. And we will in 3, 2, 1. Okay, task 1. Think of as many words as you can. Based on what you can see, write as many words as you can based on those pictures. What do you think? I'm not going to say anything else. Okay, write as many words as you can. Pause the video, have a look at the pictures, say what you see, and write what you see. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Let's have a look at some of the words that you've got. Okay, I wonder if your words go along with this, because this is King John in these 3 pictures. They're different ways that he has been shown through time. Look, they're all King John. And he ruled England from 1199, when King Richard I died, until 1216, when King John himself died. Okay? And there are lots of different ways that people have tried to show who he really was. But historians have agreed that he had a very bad reputation. Historians today still see him as a mean, violent man who took advantage of the English people and made life miserable for people in England. I wonder if your words match that idea of King John. Okay, you'll notice again at the bottom that we've got our words, our vocabulary words, have changed for today. They were the same on Monday and Tuesday, but today they've changed. So we've got barons, Plantagenets, clergy, rebel, Magna Carta, and democracy. And as the lesson goes on, we'll go through what these words mean. So don't worry if you don't know them yet. Okay, let's move on. Let's find out a little bit in this video about King John and what he was like.
It's the year 1215 and the ruler is King John. Many people believe that King John was one of the worst kings in history. He imprisoned his former wife, he starved his opponents to death, he allegedly murdered his own nephew and pulled the beards of the Irish chiefs. King John had imposed heavy taxes on its barons in order to pay for his expensive foreign wars. If they refused to pay, he punished them severely or seized their property. The barons demanded that King John obey the law. When he refused, they captured London and John was forced to negotiate.
Okay, so King John, obviously not a very nice man then. Right, let's have a look at what we're going to do next. We're going to have a look at the vocabulary, okay? So we'll take a moment just to look at those words. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what they mean. So what I want you to do is have a look at them. Are there any that we know already? Because we've talked about Plantagenets. In fact, what I'll quickly do is I'll quickly tell you what they mean, and then you can write your own definitions. So barons, those were rich people who owned land. Plantagenets, they were the royal house that King Richard and King John belonged to. The clergy are holy people, okay, who are religious, like the church, and they're all part of the clergy. A rebel is someone who goes against everything. They're against the law. And a democracy is a place where you can vote for your leader and that you have a free say, and that people in the country aren't put upon unnecessarily or asked to do things that they shouldn't be. Right, let's have a look at the definitions. Let's have a look. Okay, what I want you to do is copy down those definitions in a book, any one that you don't know, and then once you're ready, unpause the video, and then we'll see what we're doing next. Okay? Let's move on. In 3, 2, 1. So, who was King John? Well, it just so happens that we have a special guest. Give me a moment while I just go and get him. Hello. My name is King John, and I am the brother of King Richard I. And I've taken over as king now, and what I say goes. So you'd better stay on my good side, otherwise you'll be in lots of trouble. Now, I was my father's favourite child, obviously, and I'd been desperate to be king for a long time. It's very true, I should be king all along. They all loved my brother, but I don't know why. They called him Lionheart, but I was the one, really. I'd even tried to steal the throne from my brother before, because he was never there anyway. So when he died, my brother, I was very happy, and I became king, and that meant that I got to sit on that, the throne, the place I belong, the chair, or the place for the King of England. So why did people say I was so bad? Well, I like to fight a lot too, and many of my first years as king, I was in battle in France, defending the land that was rightfully mine in France, and trying to win new lands too. I was a very brave soldier, but nobody ever talks about that. However, yes, I did land up losing lands in France, and it was very embarrassing for me, so I wish you wouldn't keep going on about it. And in 1206, 7 years after I took over, I decided that the people must pay. My crown fell off. I'll have to buy another one. The people must pay. So I started raising taxes to pay for weapons, soldiers, and equipment I needed in battle to win. And I was determined to win back those lands in France. Do you know what taxes are, do you? Well, taxes are money. Taxes are money that I use, and it's paid by you, the people. Like a bill to the king or the queen. Now, people didn't really like paying my taxes, did they? And I kept raising them higher and higher and asking for more and more money from the people. And I wasn't winning back France, which wasn't my fault at all, because the soldiers weren't brave enough to fight for me. So I needed more and more money to keep going back to battle. Getting angry now. So people started to fight me, and it was getting awful, you see. And many people decided to revolt, and that's when people stopped doing what I tell them to do. And by May 1215, the rebellion had travelled to London, the always angry people with pitchforks I can see in that picture, and they tried to take control of the city. Not me. It was a big problem. What do you think I should have done? There goes my crown again because I'm angry. What do you think I should have done? Instead, I'll leave you to answer that one. I need to calm down. It's terrible. Bad memories. Okay, King John there, he wasn't a happy man, was he? Not a lot of good things happened to England when he was king. Okay. He talks about a revolt and a rebellion, loads of people coming to the city because they wanted to take it over. They weren't happy with him as king. Okay, it's your turn. What would you do if you were King John? What do you think he should do? Look, there's the options there. He can arrest the rebels. He can lower taxes again. He can try and come to some sort of agreement with the people who are rebelling. He could give up the throne, give up his crown. Let the rebels arrest him. Or he could escape from England in secret, because remember, he still had a few lands in France. What do you think he should do? Choose one of those options and then explain why you have chosen that one. Pause the video now and then write down your answer in your books with why. We'll move on and see what you got in 3, 2, 1. Okay, well, what did King John do? He signed this piece of parchment here, called the Magna Carta, which is Latin for the Great Charter, and it was a list of promises that would make England a safer and fairer place to live for the people. And it's one of the most important moments in our history, because when he signed this at Runnymede Castle, which doesn't have an A, ignore that, on June the 15th, 1215, it changed our rights as people forever. Okay, we're going to find out more about Magna Carta next time, and it's known as the beginning of democracy, where people get a say in how the country is run in Britain. Okay, looking at King John's character, let's have a look at what he did. He was tough and energetic, and he was violent and cruel. And in fact, it's rumoured that he murdered his own nephew as soon as he became king, because he thought that his nephew had a good claim to become king, being the son of his older brother who had died when he was younger. The murder of his nephew forced King John's barons into fighting against him as well. So there was another war. His barons didn't even like him and thought that his behaviour was outrageous. So he also lost most of the French lands that he was fighting for, and he angered the Pope and the whole of the church by refusing to accept who he wanted to become the Archbishop of Canterbury. He then decided to steal lands in England that belonged to the church and the clergy for himself and get money from it. And this caused the Pope to cancel all church services like weddings and funerals and things like that, and burials in England. So he kept taking church property, and then finally, in 1213, the Pope declared that he was no longer the rightful king of England, and he asked the French to raise an army to fight King John to get a new king of England, because it was going so terribly. And John obviously had already angered English barons as well by taxing them loads of money, and the people in villages were then taxed more than ever, so that they couldn't afford to even eat or live. It wasn't long before even the barons invited the French to England to help rebel against their own king. And this all led to an agreement, and that agreement was known as Magna Carta, which we'll look at next time. Okay, here's our task. We're going to describe King John's character using some adjectives. So can you come up with some more adjectives to describe King John based on what we've read? Look, remember, he was a man who killed, raised taxes, had a temper, battled with barons and the church to get what he wanted. So I put down the first word as greedy. See if you can come up with a few more words to describe him. Pause the video now and then unpause when you're ready to continue with those words. 3, 2, 1. Okay, with those words, you can now explain what he was like. So King John was, that adjective that you chose, because he, and then say what he did that makes you think that he was like this. Okay, pause the video now and then write down your sentence with your adjective. Okay, we'll unpause in 3, 2, 1. Okay, what have we learnt today? Who was King John? Was he a good king or was he a bad king? And why? Have a think about that one. And then what I want you to do to finish, look at this. This is a family tree. And it's actually Richard I and John's family tree. They were both sons of Henry II, who was the king before both of them. But when Henry II died, Richard I was the oldest brother. So he was all the way over here and he took over. The next oldest brother had died, look, D, 1186. So he couldn't take over. So then it went to John and John became king. So that is a family tree. So what you can do is either copy the family tree of the Plantagenets there, or you can even find out about your own family and then design your own family tree. Okay? The choice is yours. Right. Well done again, guys. Another great day. We've learned all about King John, and tomorrow we'll find out what he did with Magna Carta and the freedom of the people.